You are welcome to Policy Focus. We bring you the concluding part of solid waste management policy. With increasing population and the pursuit of industrialization agenda, Nigeria is faced with the greater challenge of adequately handling the increasing quantum of solid waste generated from anthropogenic activities. We will be looking at the strategies, level of implementation, and the way forward. In all of this, the questions remain. Where are we? How can we improve public health and environmental protection? How can we develop an integrated waste management system? How do we ensure proper management of hazardous waste or even achieve complete waste minimization through reuse and recycling in Nigeria? Our expert will give you all the answers. I am Lydia Ojijochi. Thank you for joining us again. Before we bring you the concluding part of our conversation, let's take our news update.
The National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies has organized a sightseeing tour for Senior Executive Course 46 participants. The exercise is part of the Institute's academic activity, which allows the participants to acclimatize and familiarize with the environment, culture, and tradition of the people of Plateau State. The places visited include the Plateau State Community and Social Development Agency, Citizenship and Leadership Training Center, the Sherry Hills, Jos National Museum, the Unity Rock, and Jos Wildlife Park.
The knots are designed to grip the legs so that
While delivering a lecture to the participants at the Center for Community and Social Development Agency on the theme Digital Economy, Youth Empowerment, Sustainable Job Creation in Nigeria, Issues, Challenges and Opportunities, Engineer Datong Dominic, the Director, Plateau State Information and Communication Agency, said there is a need to invest in digital skills as a way of creating job opportunities to the teeming population.
Youth employment also requires us to provide the tools that these young people require in order to achieve that greatness, the dreams that they have in their heads. In the IT world, you need like the online learning platforms, affordable internet.
On arrival at the Citizenship and Leadership Training Center, the participants were warmly received by a cultural display from the Afizere Cultural Troupe. The center provides training for people from all walks of life, ranging from students, the military and paramilitary, and executive civil servants.
Junior Tazan.
Accompanied by a cultural performance, the participants excitedly climbed the beautiful rocks of Sherry Hills. They also visited the archives of the Jos National Museum and the Jos Wildlife Park.
6 parts that discuss the life history of
Comfort. See my student now. She's not.
Crocodile.
Chana Ejoga, NIPSS Policy TV.
I'm the businessman I am today because I scoured the world to find that feeling my clients want to wear. Yes, amen. This country makes it its business to inspire at every moment.
Own your moments in South Africa this Easter holiday. Explore new holiday deals at southafrica.net. Come journey with us.
Thank you for staying. Let us now bring you the last part of the conversation on solid waste management policy with the Director General, National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, NIPSS, Professor Ayo Omotayo. Lack of clear roles and responsibility for the various tiers of government is a challenge. For instance, no clear defined responsibilities and jurisdictions among the federal, state, and local government authorities, as well as private sector involvement in waste management activities. How can we improve on this?
Well, I don't believe that we don't have clearly defined roles. There are some roles might overlap and might be blurry. I know federal government does not come to states to interfere with solid waste management at all. Federal government, like I mentioned to you under NIPSS, looks at large-scale pollution. You know, if you understand pollution very well, you know that something you can generate certain waste around here, assume it is atmospheric waste. It goes up, the wind spreads it, it goes beyond the boundary of the generation. So as that happens, it can cover different states. Federal government has the responsibility through NIPSS to ensure that that does not happen. Keep your waste at the source of generation, treat it there. So that jurisdiction is clear. So federal government is doing its own through NIPSS. Some responsible state governments that have needs to do so have also done so. I know Lagos State has laws, Ogun State also, Oyo State also, and I think Federal Capital too also. But some other states where you do not have large-scale industrial activities do not see the need for it. So probably they didn't make laws for that. So the jurisdiction is clear. The only one I'm not too sure who exactly carries that, but I know that it's actually at the state level, medical waste handling. It's anyone can handle that. It should not be in the exclusive, it should be in the concurrent list. Okay. That medical waste. State can do it, federal can do it. If a state government is unable to handle its medical waste, it should be able to ask federal to come in and support it in handling medical waste. So there might be blurry lines, but we don't have conflicts as to who should do what and who should not do anything.
Now, Prof, how can we use integrated system of solid waste management to achieve reliable source of renewable energy?
Well, it depends on the level of investment you are willing to put into it. So a whole lot of what we generate from our homes, even what we can be used, can be reused and be transformed to generate energy. Take poultry waste, for example. If you handle your poultry waste very well, you can have a biodigester, and from the biodigester extract dirty gas, and then you can use dirty gas or whatever you want to use it for. If you can can it, you can go ahead and can it. For us to have an integrated solution management, we must start from households. From households, we move to company level. Let us encourage companies that generate humongous amount of reusable waste, because some waste can actually do more for us. Like I mentioned, the dung from cows at abattoirs can generate a whole lot of gas. And after extraction of the gas, you can use the rest for compost. That is part of integrating waste management into everything. The horns from the cows are waste to those people, but then it can be reused. The blood can be used as source of protein in the feed making industry. So we need to identify what is waste to at a particular level and what is raw material at another level. I've mentioned a few things that are waste to certain activities, but they are raw materials to another sector. So integrated waste management can be achieved if you put in the funding, if you put in the research to know how best to execute it. They are there everywhere, but then you need to actually study how you can make it work effectively. It's not going to be one solution fit all. It's going to be different across space, but then it can be achieved.
After all said and done, do you think we have the capacity to use this to solve the growing needs for electricity for businesses in the small and medium enterprise sectors, as well as serve as source of fuel generation, such as cooking gas, methanol, and ethanol from waste conversion?
Well, part of what I alluded to, I just didn't mention those words specifically. Yes, if you are ready to put in the investment, like I said, if you pack dongs now, you are going to put them in a biodigester. Do you have money to set up a biodigester facility in the first place? If you're able to do so, certainly you can get methanol. I mentioned that at our landfill sites, if you have the technology, you can drill down. The decomposing waste gives up CH4. You can gather the CH4, even though I know it's dirty gas, and then it can still be used. You know, one thing is to get the gas, the other thing is to get rid of the waste in the gas before it can come in its pure form for us to use. All of these things require that to invest in technology. But I know that waste is not, there is nothing that is waste absolutely. Okay, we are just most times we are at the first phase of use. And it is because we do not have understanding of what those things can be used for again that we throw them away. And sometimes people at their own level have come to the end of the consumption. Mm-hmm. So when you come to the end of your consumption of it, you call it a waste. But that is actually raw materials for some other people. So we need to recognize all of those stages and then let us open up the opportunities for those who can take the process further from there.
Healthcare experts say there is high rise in waterborne diseases like typhoid, fever, and cholera, as well as increased malaria cases from more breeding grounds from mosquito bites. How do you think this can be reversed regarding the quantum of container waste we generate every day?
Well, you are pointing fingers at everyone. You are telling us that when we throw away our plastic bottles, when you throw away the sardine cans indiscriminately, and when they are upturned, water gathers in them, and they might be breeding grounds for mosquitoes and the rest of the vectors. Mm-hmm. It is the responsibility of the individual to dispose of such materials responsibly. If you can crush your thing so that it cannot take in water, that's the best thing. If you cap your water bottle after using them, you cap it up, water is not going to get into it. It's only when you throw them that water fills it up. If you just put up the cap again, it's just going to be there. Nothing's going to be able to enter it. So it goes back to what we said about advocacy and enlightenment, that this is a way by which in the first place you can manage this waste. If you have a milk tin, crush it. If you have a sardine tin, crush it. If you have this
Plastic bottles?
plastic bottle, just put back the cap. So in the first place, no, they cannot retain water, and if they can't retain water, mosquitoes and other vectors cannot lay in them and have them serving as a point of breeding mosquitoes and the rest of the insects. That is at the first level. We need a whole lot of education. Little things matter. What does it take you to put the cap back on your plastic bottle? It doesn't take anybody any time. It doesn't take you any time to crush your metal waste. The sardine tin, just crush it. Nothing will enter it until when you're able to dispose it.
How can we cut down on number of illegal waste dump sites near waterways and in vacant plots, as well as drainage areas clogged with bottles, water bags or plastic bags and other debris?
Well, it comes back to educating the citizenry. Government has a role to play. Let us have designated points for disposal. I mentioned earlier that NIPSS is going to have its own. We are going to let every institution, if take our own environment, if NIPSS says my waste is not coming out of here, we have enough land, we will treat it before it goes out. Take Bukuru Tech, if they do the same thing. Take the Veterinary Institute, if they do the same thing. At this southern part of Jos, this Jos South, we have 3 institutions that are not bringing the waste out there. So that is the way to start. When those big institutions do their own, and these institutions have workers working there, they learn those things. Even when they now go back to their various areas where they live in town, they can spread the idea of you trying to be the first processor of waste. As long as we are able to do that, then you get everybody participating in the waste management process, and less waste will get to the dump sites. And at those dump sites, they will be managed by government. If government doesn't want to manage the dump site, they should at least identify where the dump sites are, where people can take whatever is now considered as waste. If government cannot handle it by itself, we can experiment with also giving dump sites to private sectors to handle. I'm sure those smart ones will know that, oh, if you bring your waste here, we will sort, carry the plastic, carry the metal, and compost the rest of it. They will make money from it. I don't see why we should have problems with that. So with government enabling the environment, we can bring in private sector to even manage the website. Just give them the land and identify the sites for them. We have a lot of incentives for people to want to do that kind of business, because they can get compost, they can get metal waste, they can get plastic waste, which they can
Reuse,
resell
and recycle.
Yes.
Now, on the part of the environment, unregulated dumping of rubbish or waste is contaminating the soil and critical water sources or resources. And this is thereby allowing toxic materials like batteries, electronics, and medical waste to enter into food chains and ecosystems. Now, did you tell us, what measures do you think should be in place to address this challenge?
Well, it goes back to the education. Once people know that this particular act or one of the activities the individual or the household is kind of can ultimately lead to pollution, we give them the education. At least there should be moral suasion to say, oh no, I don't want to be part of those who contribute to environmental degradation. So we need to educate our people from the grassroots, from the individual to the households, to say this is what is expected. Yes, we have carried out a lot of researches, even the indiscriminate disposal of when you service your vehicle. We have found that they enter the soil. When you throw away the oil, they enter the soil, they pollute the soil. the rains come, they percolate into the water. So we have seen trace elements all over the place of vehicular waste, oil from vehicular activities entering the food chain. It happens. But then it means that once we give the education, people will be aware. If you tell somebody that do not, tell the mechanics, don't throw away the oil you have taken out of a vehicle for servicing, pour it in a container. Those oils are actually useful. People buy them. But in this part of Nigeria, I've seen that people don't even know that they can sell them. In Lagos, they sell them. Those who don't put a drum on the side, and when they do oil leaks, they pour them in there so that they don't become part of the food, or they don't become part of what pollutes the soil, and they sell them for money. You may not know, but these things have economic value. So we need to educate our people to know exactly what they can do with what they call waste. What people call waste at their own level may be raw materials at some other activity level.
Obviously, you're an expert in this field and we're learning a lot from you. As an expert, tell us more. What is the implication of improper waste management on environmental degradation, flooding and drainage issues, and informal settlements and slums?
Okay, you spoke about flooding. Researchers have always shown that when you have unguided urbanization and people build indiscriminately, it leads to slums. When you have slums, we call it slums because those places grew up informally, and they grew up without people thinking that they will need organized community services. So they don't provide the roads to evacuate waste. They don't provide the roads for water to be drained. And of course, if houses are built anyhow, how exactly do you provide these services? So when slums develop, we know that there is a problem. It is going to be difficult for environmental degradation not to happen when you have slums. Recently, I was talking to a few people on how Lagos can handle its slums. But of course, it's also a politically sensitive issue. To bring services to slums, you have to correct the wrongs. In correcting the wrongs, you have to put roads, you have to bring drainage, you have to bring water, you have to bring electricity. They must go along certain paths. And when you need to do that, some houses may have to go down. And that causes a lot of tension because who wants to lose his or her house? So it's not an easy task for government when slums have already developed. And the same thing goes for flooding. Most of those areas that are flooded sometimes are due to what we call anthropogenic activities of man. We do not sometimes anticipate what the consequences of our actions are because we do not have the understanding. Sometimes we are simply greedy or we are selfish about our own needs only. I remember once in Lagos, Lagos was flooded, and we found that the outlet of the drainage into the lagoon had been built upon. And when the government said, see, you cannot have it both ways, you cannot not have flood, and then say you want to keep your houses where they are. You have to make way for water
To pass.
So, what would you expect government to do? So that is when they bring those houses down. Recently, you had outcry in Lagos recently when some Igbo traders said Lagos didn't like them. But apparently they are built on canals, on canalways. And Lagos being a low-lying area, it's difficult to drain. And if they create paths, you must let the water go. Because you cannot even move fast in the first because it's already low-lying and receiving water flow back from the lagoon. So government has a whole lot to do. And these things are interconnected. Once you allow slums to develop, you are going to have a lot of degradation taking place because one, you can't drain the area. Number two, you can't evacuate waste. When you can't evacuate waste, all the toxic materials decay and penetrate the soil. From the soil, they enter into your waterways. Of course, you block the channels. When people can't carry out their waste, they throw them in the channels. The channels get clogged. When water can't flow, it flows back into people's homes. So at the end of the day, we suffer the consequences of our actions. Now, whether we planned for those actions or not will not matter at that time. So, like I said before, government must play its part, ensure that we do not allow or encourage informalities in the development of any area. As long as a new area starts, let government impose the city plan and say, government should not say, oh, we know you own the land. That's fine. This is the road. This is drainage. This is shop. This is market. This is church. So everything will be in its place. It's your land. That's fine. But these are the things you must observe. Sell the rest. That way we can have our environment grow and ensure that they do not necessarily degrade. An environment will degrade if it cannot evacuate its waste. It will degrade if drains can't run. It will degrade if you cannot bring water and other services to them. Certainly, no environment will grow when we do not plan for growth and development here.
How can we make investment in modern waste management an urgent priority in Nigeria's policy agenda and budgeting at national, state, and local government levels?
And they are more able to effectively manage whatever plans they have in those areas. So I think we should leave it at the level of the state, and then we'll get the results we want.
How can this policy achieve waste minimization, reuse, and recycling, which aim to reduce waste generation at the source and promote the 3 R's, that is, reduce, reuse, and recycle?
Reduce, reuse, recycle, redesign, reform. We can have all the R's that you want, but some can be through moral suasion, some by the enactment of laws, and some through advocacy. To refuse waste, government cannot legislate that. It is individual responsibility to say, I do not want to generate waste. Government cannot force you to take your food flask to the fast food joint. It can only persuade you. You must be personally convinced. Okay? Now, at the level of recycle, it's joint responsibility of the consumer and the producer of the product in the plastic waste, for example. Government can say, if you pack it, you must take it. If you sold Coke to me in a PEP bottle, it is your responsibility to take back the PEP bottle. So as you are selling to me, okay, you must give me the incentive to return the plastic to you. And if I don't return it, government should then can enact a law that for all Coke bottles found anywhere, it is the responsibility of the company that has made that product to take them off the environment. They should have responsibility for that. So we refuse to use some, we can legislate, some we can use moral suasion, some by advocacy.
Do you think Nigeria can develop sustainable financing mechanisms by identifying funding sources and cost recovery mechanisms such as taxes, fees, and public-private partnerships to make waste management financially self-sustaining?
Oh, certainly. Certainly. And there are funds for it. The last time we were in Cote d'Ivoire, African Development Bank has funds for sustainable waste management. So the problem I see with us in Nigeria is that we don't research enough, we don't search enough. If we do what we are supposed to do, we see a lot of funding pathways. And on the part of government too, government can set funds aside at single-digit rates, not free funds, for those who want to invest in waste management to do so. Because not only does it really help to promote businesses, it also helps to keep our environment clean. So government can play a role in that. We have a lot of banks that can be encouraged to set aside a certain percentage of their money, of the money they loan out for a particular purpose, to promote some social, economic goods.
Now finally, what area or areas of this policy, that is solid waste management, what areas do you think may need to be reviewed, and what would be your concluding recommendations to the federal government of Nigeria on this policy?
First, I would say we need to carry out thorough research on scale of pollution if something is not done. If it goes beyond the level of a state, federal government should come into it. So for solid waste management, we must start from the local level, the subnational. Federal government should not be involved in legislating on solid waste management, as far as I'm concerned. But where it involves a large-scale pollution that can be borne by the wind, which can go across state boundaries, federal government can intervene. When it comes to the pollution of, assume Kaduna River, for example, that flows through about 4 different states, certainly government has to come into that. That's why I said it's about scale. Then secondly, it's about category of waste. Domestic waste that can be turned into compost, federal government has no business with that. Let that be handled at the subnational level, basically at the local government level. Hazardous waste like waste batteries, waste electronics, this medium scale, state government can handle that. And even medical waste, state governments can also handle that. But we should make provision for federal government to come in where the states are unable to carry out their responsibilities, and if only when they don't carry out those responsibilities, it will impact on adjoining states or impact on us nationally. That is when the federal government should come in. We should not make federal government play in everything. And federal government can also come up with incentives that if a state is able to keep a particular standard, they might give them some money to help them to keep up with the good work. I know in America, the air standards are set, and every state that meets the standard that the federal government of America has set gets an incentive from the federal government for doing so. So federal government should play a role, but most of the work in terms of who does what should be at the level of the national, subnational, once we can determine the scales over which these things operate, and then we categorize what the waste are. I'm sure you've heard about the circular economy, where you may ensure that from the waste you generate another activity. From the waste you generate another activity until you turn a whole circle. The AFDB has money for development of circular economy. And when we have our conference in April 20th to 22nd, we'll be talking more about how waste management plays in the whole circular economy scenario.
Thank you very much, Professor Ayo Omotayo, DG, National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies. Thank you for educating us and enlightening us on solid waste management. We're indeed grateful.
Thank you.
I am the businessman I am today because I scoured the world to find that feeling my clients want to wear. Yes! This country makes it its business to inspire at every moment.
Own your moments in South Africa this Easter holiday. Explore new holiday deals at southafrica.net. Come journey with us.
It's new, it's fresh, it's all about policies and strategies. Watch out for NIPSS Policy TV programs on NTA News 24. Tune in on Mondays, Tuesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. on DSTV Channel 419, GoTV Channel 26, Star Times Channels 101 and 433, and Free TV Channel 703. Miss this and miss out on policies that will affect you and our country. Join us.
We need to imbibe the attitudes of cleanliness, because if we take in these attitudes and right from home we practice it, it will go a long way in our business environments, in our schools and other areas. We would work as much as we can to stop indiscriminate disposal of refuge and other deaths around. The populace lack knowledge about the effect of this pollution and these deaths that are around. Now, the National Orientation Agency will do a great job in educating the populace, because they need education. Education will make them to be enlightened about the dangers of indiscriminate refuge disposal.
I think there's lack of sensitization on the part of the people, because people dispose waste anyhow because of lack of proper orientation. I think that also causes environmental pollution. And then sometimes some irregular uses of chemicals, especially to apply on agricultural produce, on farmlands, and even on storage of crops and other things also contribute to environmental pollution.
Yeah, waste is also a major cause, because on daily basis and seconds we throw away waste. But that waste can be used in another form. It can be used for this rubber. The paper can still be recycling into tissue paper, into pencil, and etc.
Of the causes, I will look at most of these drainages, because the way we dispose most of our items, that is the unused items, and most of with the channels where water will follow, they are not even there.
The ways to address these issues, one is through education, and that can be done since from primary school. And while we're in primary school, we have subjects like health education and other basic subjects that teach us on how to take care of ourselves, to maintain good hygiene and also sanitation. I think that will contribute a lot since from primary school to be able to educate our young children on how to maintain good environment. And then the government can do more through National Orientation Agency to be able to give awareness to people on how to maintain good hygiene and also to maintain the environment. And then we have some of our higher institutions that also educate or graduate students on environmental sanitation and other practices like that. So I think the government should employ such people to be able to address some of these factors.
We need proper orientation, but I think this has to be with, before I know, it used to be the work of the local government. But it's like the work of the local government have been seized by the state government and so, and the work is too much on the state government. Because before you know that the work of drainages, there's many dams and other things, they were work of the local government. If I thought local government will wake up to their tax that they used to carry on before, I think that would go a long way.
I don't fear fear, but I fear regrets. What I can do if I don't do it today, tomorrow it may hurt me.
Keep watching.
Keep watching.
Keep watching NIPSS Policy TV.
Hello and thanks for joining us. This is Alumni Chat and I am China Ejoga. Today our guest is none other than Dr. Steve Olusegun Ogidon MNI, who is the Managing Director of Successful Nigeria Limited. He is a development planner and also into the agricultural space. Sir, it's good to have you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. So please, can you tell us what is your background as a development planner?
Thank you. I am a development planner, I'm a strategist, and I also do a lot of work in agricultural space. I do training, research, and strategy, and we work across Africa. Wow. We have representative offices in about 5 countries, but most of the time we're in Abuja.
So tell me, how did you get to come to the National Institute?
I was nominated by the President of the Federal Republic to come to the National Institute. And I was supposed to have come a year before. But when I look at the opportunity cost, I felt it was too high for me to come and spend almost a year at the National Institute. But again, I was encouraged by my mentor. Okay. And then I decided to take the leap of faith. But it became the most strategic move I've ever made in my life. It was a great experience for me. And after 3 months at the National Institute, I knew it was the right place for me to be.
So can you tell us, when you were here, what was your experience as a participant?
Yes, my experience as a participant, one, I made new friends. I met new people. And before I came to the National Institute, as a consultant, I choose my client. I decide where I want to work, where I don't want to work. But when I got to the National Institute, I'm forced to work with some people, and I forced to work with my study group, and I learned a lot of things, especially how to be patient. Before, I was very intolerant in dealing with people, but again, I learned a lot of things, why government does what it does, why policies often happen the way it happens, and a major lesson for me is the realization that most of the time, we really don't know what informs government decision. Government takes decision in the best interest of the country, but what we see on the superficial level are just things that we don't understand. So I now come to appreciate the government more, appreciate policy, appreciate brief, and then strategic move on how to address issues.
So how has this experience affected your person and especially your career?
It has significantly affected my person because I have become more tolerant to deal with people. My outlook is broader. And my work, which I do across Africa, again, it has really given me opportunity. I'm currently working in Angola, working in Mozambique, working in Uganda. And then it made me to engage better with the governments of those countries. Because when I tell them, giving them the strategic move, giving them the policy options and implementation strategies, it made my work very easy. And the topic we researched when we were at the National Institute was a topic that was very dear to my mind, strengthening local governance. We know that a majority of the problems in this country will be addressed if we can strengthen local governance, if we can empower the local communities to take charge of their responsibility. And it is the failure of local governance. That is why a new movement is coming up now, trying to say that democracy does not work in Africa. Because democracy we are looking at now is democracy of federal government. We need democracy at the local level. We need to strengthen the local communities to be able to take decisions.
So can you tell us what's your principle about life?
My principle about life is that I decide what I want to do And while I'm deciding what I want to do, I decide what I will not do.
Wow.
And in deciding what I will not do, I know the direction I want to face. I set goals for myself. And when I achieve the goal, I celebrate. When I don't achieve the goal, I recalibrate my strategy. So it has really helped me to be able to focus. And these are things I learned in my years in certification, in my years in working with my mentors. I work with the President of African Development Bank, Dr. Akim Adesina, is one of my mentors. The former Chief of Staff to the President, Professor Ibrahim Gambari, another mentor. And my mentor in the ITC ILO, Cheryl, she's a Canadian lady who taught me quite a number of things. And again, it's shaped the way I reason and the way I get my job done.
Wow. So, you being a member of the National Institute, which is termed MNI, what is your take on it that it's seen as an elitist group?
HANI is not an elitist group. HANI is just an association that protects the interests of members and for a better society. HANI is an association that takes the interests of the country beyond any other interest. But unfortunately, if you are not in it, you are not in it. So those who are outside think it is an elitist group. It's not an elitist group because HANI takes the interests of the country above any other interest and protects its members. That is one thing I've seen in HANI. And the bond, the fellowship, there's no time when I go on international trips, when people see the badge, especially any members who did not wear their badge, they will say it becomes a brotherhood badge, and then it gives us opportunity to be able to trust one another, to be able to work together, and to be able to do business together.
Talking about the association, how do you think it has impacted on the Institute?
The association is impacting on the Institute because there's continuous dialogue between the management and the leadership of the association. You know, 44, 45 years in the life of any association, there will be ups and down period. There will be different leadership with different styles. So we believe that with the current leadership of the Alumni Association of the National Institute, a new reform is taking place. A whole lot of things are taking place. Electronic voting is going to come up, and more members will be involved in it. And a major thing that the Alumni Association leadership has been doing that really excited me is going out of their way to look for the senior citizens, those who are in Sec 1, Sec 2, Sec 3, Sec 4. Yesterday they visited, or day before they visited, General Jeremiah Oseni, a member of Sec 3. So this is an opportunity for them to know that nobody is leaving them behind, nobody is forgetting about them, and building a better society. You cannot build a better society if you don't take care of the senior citizens. And you can't build a better society if you don't take care of the junior citizens, the younger ones that are coming. So ANI is already doing this, and we see this opportunity that we continue to make the Institute to be better, and we make the association to be better.
Okay. Still on the association,
yes.
We have NIPSS Policy TV, which is a brainchild of the DG. And how do you think that the association can be involved with this?
I am not an executive of the association, but I believe a closer interaction between the management and the association will make the TV to be better. You see, 1,001 studies have been conducted in NIPSS, policy studies. These policy studies are not seen in practice. NIPSS Policy TV, we showcase all these things. The Alumni Association needs to support the TV to be able to put to the fore the contribution of the alumni members in policy space, the studies that have been conducted, because these alumni associations are in different spheres of life, and they should be able to see what study has been conducted in NIPSS that will make Nigeria to be better. And the policy TV is an opportunity for us to be able to move this country forward. Any country that will move forward, its policies must be right. And this is a major issue for the policy TV.
During your sojourn here on the Institute, we know that it is 10 whole months. How were you able to cope with the demand of family life, your commitment here on the Institute, and then your work. Job? Yeah.
Yes, you see, my first encounter with the Institute, I think it was around 1990 when I was working with the former Minister of Petroleum, who was here. So I was always coming. That time there were no online banking. I was always bringing check for him to sign.
Wow.
But I knew what the Institute was doing that time. So when I was coming, I prepared my mind that, look, my family members will be visiting. The accommodation was conducive enough. Then my staff were bringing documents to me, and we work remotely. It was a very good thing. Then again, I thank my wife, who was always coming around to encourage me. Because when I told her that if I get tired midway, I will run away. He said, there's nothing you have done that you didn't finish. Because you look at it, the first 3 months was tough.
Yeah.
But immediately we started the travels and everything, it became very relaxed. Then opportunities were coming to stop at home and stop in the office to see things done.
Wow.
But it was a nice experience.
Okay.
It was a sacrifice well made.
So in regards to that as well, how do you unwind? How do you make time to ease off?
The sporting activity in the National Institute is fantastic. It was at the National Institute that I improved my golf scheme, and then I became a golfer. Then the sporting activity. Immediately we left the institute, we didn't stop again, because we now discovered that it is for our benefit, not just a question of socializing.
Okay. So can you tell us what were your highs and lows during those moments?
The high point of the study was our travels. We were in the United Arab Emirates, we were in Uganda, and then we visited Kaduna and Plateau State. During these studies, we were able to see issues and perspectives that fed into what we were researching. But the low point, the lowest point was when we came back from the institutional visit. And our study group had sleepless nights. We wrote our report. And when we made our presentation, they told us, one directing staff told us that it's like we didn't go to anywhere, that we wrote those reports without visiting the institution. And we felt bad because our directing staff were there. We were demoralized. But we thank the DG who came to encourage us and the director of studies who came to encourage us that we should not worry, that we should do better. Incidentally, we did better. And then our study group now came on top when we were making other presentations. So it really challenged us to be able to do better. And then we learned patience, tolerance, and ability to accommodate diverse opinions.
Okay. So I know that from time to time you do come to the Institute to do one or two things. What would you like the Institute to do differently?
What the Institute should do differently is encouraging more alumni to come around. When they come around, they will see things in perspective, they will reflect again. And the Institute should be able to sponsor some studies where scholars will come and sit down at the Institute and research topics, not regular courses. We are looking at possibilities of research that will make Nigeria better, not just a question of policy, leadership, and strategy course or senior executive course. Then we need to be able to bring more policymakers, opinion leaders to come and have retreat here so that we can have like the Kuru Declaration, so that we'll be able to say this is the position that has been taken at this institute, because it will give us opportunity to build a better society, especially now, issues that are relating to democracy, issues that are relating to good governance.
Lastly, what is your advice to the youths out there who are looking up to people like you or who would want to become like you?
The advice to the youth is that they need to be focused. We need everything that is good comes with sacrifice. They need to be prepared for sacrifice. They don't need to leave the country. Nigeria is still the best country to make it. And this thing we are seeing that people are going to Canada, they are going to US, they are going to UK. It has happened before. In 1982-83, Andrew was moving away. But we see those who went away that time, they came back now. And came back along the line and discovered that Nigeria is better. The youth should be able to refocus their energy and see what they can do in this climate.
Thank you so much for your time,
Dr.
Okidon. It was such an exciting time having you to come and chat with us on Alumni Chat. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure.
This is the much we can take on Alumni Chat today. I am Chana Ejoga. Stay with us, more to come.
Keep watching.
Keep watching.
Keep watching NIPSS Policy TV.
Moments in South Africa this Easter holiday. Explore new holiday deals at southafrica.net. Come journey with us.
Our expert advises that the solid waste management policy should be geared towards reducing waste generation at source and promote the 3 R's: reduce, reuse, recycle, through public awareness, like we are doing. Regulations and incentives should be given to recycling industries. But also remember that solid waste management starts with you. This is where we end today on Policy Focus. Keep watching NIPSS Policy TV for more educational topics and information. I am Lydia Ojijochi. Thank you for being a part of it. Goodbye.